Hey everybody, this is Jurius Doctor, and today I'm going to be going over who I think you should be voting for and why. And I'm going to talk specifically about the people I'm voting for and my recommendations and why I've put these people in these orders. Let's start with myself. So the CSM ballot, I'm obviously putting myself at the top because it's my own ballot. And if you're following my content and you've gained precious information, learning, and skill development from the courses that I produce online and help you with, and you want to put me at the top of your ballot or on your ballot at all, there I am. I am a new bro candidate and a media personality in EVE, as it were. Added to this list is Mike Azariah. Mike Azariah is, after myself, my number one pick because the guy has done more for EVE Online than pretty much any human alive. And he is honestly just a spectacular human being. He helps so many new bros with Project Magic School Bus, where he basically flies around in a bowhead giving out ships, fully fitted ships to new bros and taking them out on fleets and teaching them how to do stuff. The guy's amazing. He deserves to be on the CSM. He's been on the CSM before. He knows what to expect. And honestly, I think he's a really good face to have in this time when we need to grow new bro traction, retention, and training. Also on my ballot is Brisc Rubal. Brisc is a nullsec candidate. He's a member of the Imperium, which is Goonswarm. I have him there largely as a ballot representative for the blocks, but also because of the fact that he is, as a real-world politician and as somebody who has had the boots taken to him in the CSM, in-game and in real life, and still had the intestinal fortitude to return to wanting to do it again. Somebody I think that deserves to be there. He's also a fantastic human being. I love working with him. He's hilarious. He's got a great sense of humor. He's very even-keeled, and he's a great person to have in a room. He also knows enough to know all of the personalities who bring all the specialty knowledge to the table, and he can be a great communicator of their ideas and their information. So he's somebody who is a good person to have in the room for all facets and all standpoints, and he's very well connected. He's just a great guy, and I'd love to see him on the CSM. Now, in the fresh faces, I have to add in Insidious Sainthood. Insidious Sainthood is a low-sec representative from Red vs. Blue. Red vs. Blue is also one of the large new bro training organizations in EVE Online. They're very, very good at taking in new bros and teaching them about low-sec, about how wars work in EVE Online, how fighting works, fleets, logistics. They're very well organized. They have programs like SRP, which is ship replacement programs. They run classes, very much like EVE University. They have a lot of great things that they do, and they're very good at building out the low-sec culture and community. And I really like these guys. And Insidious himself is a fantastically intelligent, very well-spoken, very soft-spoken guy. Very clever, funny, intelligent, even-keeled, good to have in a room. I mean, whenever you'll see myself and Brisc and Insidious on comms together, on podcasts, or just talking, we get along very, very well. And it's not just a matter of liking each other or potentially creating an echo chamber for each other. We disagree on points all the time, but we're respectful about it. And it's that kind of professional rapport and communication that helps us to work together if we're going to be on the CSM. Then I have Loroseco Kross. And Loroseco is one of the best people for wormholes. I like him even more than I like Zenuria. And, just a fantastic dude. And Exuki's, while he's a current, I believe, CSM and wormhole candidate, Loroseco brings a lot of really well-informed, really backed up information. Loroseco himself has said that, when looking at wormhole people, Exuki's is one of those people that if he doesn't get in and Zuki's gets in, he'd be disappointed, but he'd understand. I think Loroseco actually deserves to be there more than Exuki's, and that's why he's on my ballot. Loroseco is one of the smartest guys I've ever met, and he has gone out of his way on air to offer to help new bros find their way to wormholes, and that's an offer that nobody in wormholes has ever reached out to me with other than EVE University. And I have to say, that's a that's a big bonus in my book. Like that is a giant mark in his favor. And after having the opportunity to interact with him on Trash Talk Tuesday, this on the CSM panel this last Saturday, Loroseco went from being not on this list to the 5th place. He deserves to be here. Then we have the Oz. The Oz is a German streamer, very charismatic dude, very, very smart, like just wicked smart guy. He's got a finance background. He's exactly the kind of voice we need on the CSM to talk to CCP about things like the MER and providing us better data and metrics, to helping me sell the case value for providing us more transparency and real-time information from CCP so that we can gauge how effective our measures are being, and to help drive some of those informed conversations about what's going on in the market and where we need to change what's happening, both on CCP side and from the players. The Oz is absolutely on my ballot and deserves to be there. And he's just a great guy to chat with. He is also one of the better streamers to watch. And if you're not watching him or following his Twitch channel already, I very strongly encourage that you do. Then we have Ikarus Cesaille. And speaking of Eve University, Icarus is with Eve Uni. He is a new bro focus candidate. He is high sec focused. He's also incredibly well read in this game. He understands pretty much all of the mechanics of the game. And while he's not as well known a personality as Seamus Donahue, he's right up there when it comes to people to talk to if you want to know where to go in this game and where to grow. And he's been with Eve University long enough that if I had anybody ask me, who can I go to as a good mentor, to have somebody find me a good mentor, Eve University and Icarus in particular are people I would send you to. And I do on a regular basis send people to Eve University as new bros to help them learn this game. It's one of the biggest organizations I feed to. And I have to say that, they need at least one candidate on my ballot, and he is it. And if we're representing high sec and representing new play and mission running and incursions and all of those communities that operate in high sec, he's a solid place on my ballot. Then we have January Valentine. January Valentine is the producer of the Meta Show. She's also one of the co-producers for Talking in Stations. She's incredibly well connected in this game. She knows all of the personnel. She has all of them as friends on Discord. She knows them. They'll talk to her. They trust her. And if they have problems, they'll raise them with her. And January is a great organizer. If I could give January a permanent position with the CSM, if there was a magic wand I could wave and say, maybe not take up a seat, but have her be in the room perpetually, because she would be a great, just amazing executive officer for the CSM. I would give her that permanent seat for as long as she wanted it, because she's exactly the kind of person who helps to make things happen. And not just the big ideas and the big pushes, but asking the kinds of questions like, cool, that's your idea. It's a good idea. Now let's break this down into parts where we can actually make it happen. What does this look like in practice? And she's not afraid to ask those hard questions or to dig into the details, or to ask you to clarify or to come back to you with, okay, cool, explain this to me like I'm 6. She's also a really strong candidate. She really strongly deserves to be here. And I think the rest of the community recognizes all of those strengths in her, and that's why she's on a lot of people's ballots. Then we have DutchGunner. Now, another high-sec candidate here, and this is not by mistake. DutchGunner is also the only role-playing / lore candidate that I trust out of the 40 people that are running right now for CSM. DutchGunner is a member of the Artaka Research Consortium, and those guys are just awesome tinfoil hatting hyper autists. If you haven't read the 4-piece Triglavian primer, go read that crap right now. DutchGunner is their primary FC, and he is an awesome dude. I very strongly recommend that you have him on your ballot for high sec, for lore, and for the role-playing community, because he will drive CCP to provide more content in the story side of Eve, to talk more about the lore and to expand the universe in ways that are interesting and attract and hold people's attention, especially existing players. I think DutchGunner deserves to be on your ballot. And last but not least, Phantomite. Probably the most detail-oriented Eve player I've ever met. If you haven't seen his intro video where, he brings up a section of video where he's asking questions of, I believe it was CCP Fozzie and some of the other devs. It might have been FanFest or it might have been eVegas. I don't remember which event it was. But the questions he comes forward with, yes, just yes, every single one of his points. And every time I've had a chance to interact with him on communications, on podcasts and radio shows, he has been incredibly persistent and incredibly precise in his questioning and very good about calling people on things like, definitely somebody who's not afraid to get in the middle and ask hard questions. The other thing about him is that he's not afraid to stand up for his positions, and he very strongly joins Insidious Sainthood in representing the low-sec community. They want a lot of the same things, and they agree on a lot of the problems that are happening for low-sec and FAC War right now. And if you wanted anybody to represent low-sec, Phantomite needs to be on your ballot. So these are the primary 10 people that I'm putting on my ballot, and from left to right, top to bottom, this is my order 1 through 10, and this is just my own personal ordering. You can completely reorder this list to your liking, but I did have a specific reason for choosing these people and choosing this order, and let's talk a little bit about that. So why these specific people? Well, these people represent the most knowledgeable representatives from their play styles. We have several Nubro-focused people here. That is not by mistake. It's because the game right now is in a place where we're losing too many players. We have too much bounce. We have people who come in, they try the game, they don't even make it a week, and they leave. We're keeping 1,000 out of 21,000 people a week. Even if that has grown, even if we're holding more to 4,000 people or even 10,000 people a week, but they leave after 2 weeks. It's better, but it's not fixed. We're not at a place yet between the community and game development where we can afford to ignore it any further. It is the herd of elephants in the room, and each of these people bring representations from their playstyle, and they bring their expertise to the table in a way that I'm sure that this particular assembly of 10 individuals, myself included, will help to drive CCP in a way and counsel them in a way that will help to turn this trend around. And there are at least a minimum of 2 chosen from each playstyle and area of expertise. There's at least 2 wormhole representatives here. There's at least 2 nullsec representatives. There's at least 2 highsec and 2 lowsec. There's at least 2 people from media. Myself, Oz, and January, we're all media individuals. So, in a big way, these numbers on the way that they've been selected are to adequately and equally represent all areas of the game. But why in this order? Well, in the way that the single transferable vote works, you have the most voting power with your ballot if you fill out all positions. If anybody tells you anything different, they are lying to you, and let me know their name, I will call them out publicly. Single transferable vote works by allowing you to say, here's the person I want to have on my ballot. Here's the person I most want to see in, followed by those people I also want to see in descending priority. Now, if the person at the top of your ballot gets in and they have more than the required threshold of votes, all of their surplus votes trickle down to your next favorite position, or their next favorite position, depending on the order and priority of the vote. So if you really want me to get in, and you really like Mike Azariah, and you want us both to get in, if you put us in the number 1 and number 2 positions on your ballots, the chances of us getting in are exponentially expanded, because while we might be number 1 and number 2 on your ballot and on a bunch of other people's ballots, we might only be 4th or 5th on other ballots, or we might be 9th and 10th on other ballots. But other people who are 9th and 10th on my ballot might be 1st and 2nd on somebody else's, and what you end up with is a situation where when all the votes are tallied, people at the top's excess votes trickle down, and people eliminated from the bottom, their votes aren't wasted. Their votes go up to their next favorite candidates. So when you're voting, if your bottom candidates don't get in, their votes are transferred to your next pick. So those votes aren't wasted. What you end up with is a situation that's designed to be fair by keeping the highest percentage of people who are very, very popular and very well liked and voted, and all of the outliers are essentially rolled up to the next favorites, so that the most representative group of people is chosen based on the will of the player base. And this is why the single transferable system is used to work voting systems in major countries. New Zealand runs on single transferable vote. I'm pretty sure most of the Scandinavian countries use single transferable vote. If I recall correctly, France also uses it. Like, there are major world nations using single transferable vote because it is predictable and it is fair. And it allows you to say, if I don't like the representation that I've seen in previous years, I can rate all the people I want to see get in, and everybody who feels the same as me, even if I don't get exactly the person I want, the chances that one of the people I want to see there will be on that list if I fill in all my ballot positions. And it is so important that you do this. You have to fill in all 10. And this order takes into account the numbers based on how they already existed on current ballots, based on what I've heard of people saying, we're putting them on our ballot, we're putting them on our block ballot, and so on. And counts in the stacking benefit provided by single transferable vote if any of these people are eliminated. And the reason I have Brisc Rubal fairly high up, despite the fact that I'm sure he's going to be getting one of the goon votes and that he's on the initiative block ballot, is that he has recommended people who were on this list beneath him. And his votes are likely to trickle down to those next candidates. And I want to see him do well because I want to see the other people that he likes and that I like as well associated with him get those additional trickle-down votes and have a higher chance of getting in. So this is gamed into specifically this order for this reason. And it's because I like these people. These are people that I would happily work with across a table and not feel like we're working at cross purposes, but actually actively working together and bringing enthusiasm and new ideas and focus on making this game better for the entire community. Now, I realize that not all 10 of these people may align with your desires, so I've offered an alternate list as well, and I'll provide links to select both of these. The alternates list keeps myself, Mike Azariah, Brisc Rubal, and Loroseco Kross in the top 4 because I think we all bring extremely strong points. But where the alternates change is Stitch Kaneland for low sec and his extremely strong knowledge of fitting. Stitch is another extremely potent player in the low sec space. He's a great solo pilot. He has an extremely good understanding of the mechanics around fitting and ship meta and everything else. And if you wanted somebody else for low sec other than Insidious Sainthood, you wanted to vote for Stitch, he's on my alternates list. The Oz is still in place for media and finance because I think his finance background is really invaluable. But for Nubro and nullsec, we bring in Juvenius Drakonius. And Juvenius is one of the heads of Requiem, which is a Nubro alliance in the Imperium. And one of the things that Juvenius really brings, other than his insane enthusiasm and just huge push for Nubros, and the fact that he's a Spanish-speaking candidate, which is one of the areas in the game that we very, very, very desperately need localization. Like, CCP should have been working on Spanish localization 10 years ago, and I don't think they've touched it. Juvenius is really, really good at understanding what helps Nubros to pick up information very quickly. And I'll actually be making videos on some of the things that he's already incorporated with how he organizes their how he organizes their TeamSpeak, how he sets up their channels, how he sends out information. Like, the guy is very, from a process level, very good at understanding what Nubros need to be comfortable and onboarded quickly into corporations, and that's the kind of information that I think CCP needs to see. That's why he's on my alternates list. Also, Pandora Singularity. Well, Pandora Singularity is a high-sec-ish person with Sixth Empire, that is the organization, largely, chaired by the Space Pope. She's on here as a diplomacy character and as a nullsec representative because under her other character, Ivy, she's a member of PanFam, she's a diplo there, and she is very well connected in the game. She understands what drives conflict in the large blocks in nullsec, and that is one of the things that CCP is very strongly interested in. And she also understands what generates peace in empire building. And that's another dynamic, another side of that thing, of that equation that you need to be able to see. And I think that she would be a strong candidate for an alternates list. If you don't like my first candidates, go with my B list. And Gobbins is another great name to have there. Now, Gobbins has run very successfully in the past. And Gobbins runs one of the biggest groups in game, a group that does take in a lot of new bros, and I respect that from him. He is another nullsec candidate, and if you're somebody who's living in nullsec and you don't like my, even spread of people in my primary list, and you're much more in favor of having more nullsec people on there, Gobbins is a good person to throw in that list. And last, if you want to have more of a media representation, but you don't know as much about generating Valentine and you wanted to get somebody else in there, Torvald Uruz, though I don't think he needs the help from my ballot because he's extremely popular and he's likely to get enough seats all by himself, I have to say that Torvald is still somebody that I have a lot of respect for. I really like the guy. And I think that if you wanted to have him on your ballot, I've put him on my alternates list for this reason. So in this case, either one of these lists will work. I support both of these variant lists. I definitely think my primary list is going to be the most effective combination of personalities and individuals for CSM. And I can tell you that even if Juvenius doesn't get into CSM, if I do, I will be relying on him to provide me information and add in additional info on some of the changes that he's adopted to make new bros within his own organization successful. But if you really want to see Juvenius get in, use the alternates list. This is just an example. And honestly, I think we need more of a new bro focus. I think we need a wider slate of people who represent the game as a whole, rather than the extreme overrepresentation of nullsec that we've seen in past years. So if you're a new bro player, if you're a player who's been playing this game and learning this game, I very strongly recommend that you share this list with other people, that you share this video with other people who play the game, and you vote, all of you, on all of your paid accounts. Please, for the love of God, fill out all your spaces and vote. Now, to help you do that, I've put together some pre-formatted links to help you pre-fill all your spaces with these people, both my primary list and my alternates list. And if you follow these tiny URLs, provided I have formatted them correctly, when you click them starting tomorrow, this should automatically fill in your top 10 spaces with these people in these orders. And again, you have the choice between my primary list and my alternate list. If you need to go back and see the primary list, just pause and go back in the video. If you need to see my alternate list, you can see it here now. I thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this helps you with your decisions in who to vote for in the CSM. I think it is absolutely necessary that every player who subscribes to this game vote. And thank you so much again for your support, for subscribing to me here on YouTube, and for following me on Twitch and subscribing there. Everything you do in participation with me in this community matters. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. I'll talk to you again soon. I'm Jurius Doctor.